Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today, we are tackling a massive evolution in code security. Look, if you've ever spent hours just playing whack-a-mole with a mountain of noisy security alerts, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention to this one. We're doing a deep dive into Anthropic's Claude Security, exactly what it is, how it works under the hood, and of course, its pros and cons. Let's just get right into it. So think about this. What if your code scanner actually reasoned like a human security researcher? You know the drill with traditional static and dynamic testing tools, your standard SAST and DAST. They heavily rely on rigid pattern matching or just simple CVE lookups. And the result? An overwhelming flood of false positives. You just end up chasing ghosts while totally missing the complex vulnerabilities that actually matter. But what if a tool could actually read and understand your codebase's unique context? Well, that's exactly what this is. Claude Security is a reasoning-based code vulnerability scanner built entirely on the Claude Opus 4.7 model. Now, the absolute keyword here is reasoning. Instead of just blindly grepping for known bad syntax, it physically traces data flows across your files and modules. It genuinely understands how the different components of your application interact, which lets it catch those tricky logic flaws that rule-based scanners completely blow past. And just to give you a sense of how incredibly fresh this technology is, it literally just launched in public beta on May 1st, 2026 for Claude enterprise customers. This rollout follows some really extensive real-world testing by hundreds of different organizations. So we're not talking about some theoretical white paper here. This is a cutting-edge approach hitting the market right now. Okay, so usually rolling out a new security tool means dealing with complex API integrations, installing a bunch of agents, and wrestling with miserable SARIF plumbing. Not here. This is totally frictionless and zero install. If your organization uses Claude Enterprise, you can start scanning immediately, right from the sidebar or at Claude.ai/security. And obviously, because security findings are highly sensitive, admins secure the whole thing using role-based access control. It's just a simple, single checkbox toggle to ensure only the right eyes are seeing these vulnerabilities. The setup itself is a super fast 3-step process. First, you just connect your GitHub repository. Second, you define your scope. You can leave it blank to scan the whole repo or target a specific path, like a front-end directory. And third, you choose your effort level. You run a standard scan for your routine day-to-day checks, or you pick extended to grant the model a much larger reasoning budget for a highly exhaustive analysis. So what actually happens when you hit that scan button? Well, the model basically mimics a human investigation, but in parallel. It doesn't just run down a fixed checklist. First, it builds a massive dependency graph of your entire repository. Second, it surveys entry points to figure out which surfaces are actually worth investigating. Third, it spawns these specialized sub-researchers to dig into those surfaces simultaneously. And finally, it follows the data flows, tracking inputs until they cross a trust boundary into a privileged action without proper validation. But here's the thing, finding a potential flaw is really only half the battle, right? Validating it is the other half. To kill off that dreaded false positive noise, Claude uses this really cool multi-stage adversarial validation pipeline. Basically, every single finding is independently examined and challenged by the AI before it ever reaches a human. What's even cooler is that the scan exposes its reasoning trace in real time, so you can literally sit there and watch the model decide what to investigate and why. Out in the wild, this engine is proving to be exceptionally good at catching a few major categories. It'll flag untrusted input reaching the file system, think path traversal, or untrusted input reaching a subprocessor shell. It's also great at spotting poor secrets handling discipline. But crucially, and I love this, it scans your dev tooling and CI scripts. Traditional pattern matching scanners almost always ignore these as quote-unquote not production code, but Claude makes sure your actual pipeline is secure too. Now, this is where the reasoning engine truly flexes. It discovers multi-step chains. Often, a vulnerability doesn't just sit there on a single, obviously broken line of code. It emerges organically from how 2 or 3 different functions interact across entirely different files. It's like a giant puzzle. And a standard grip-based linter fundamentally just cannot replicate this kind of cross-file logic analysis. When it does surface something, you aren't just handed some cryptic warning code to decipher. Every single finding is highly structured into 5 clear sections. You get the details, tracing the exact data flow, the real-world impact, concrete reproduction steps, a codebase-aware recommended fix, and metadata, which includes the severity and a really unique confidence rating that the model assigns to its own conclusion. Triaging these findings is completely codeless too. You clear the board using 2 main options.
You can mark it not applicable, which actually requires you to document your reasoning, or you mark it handle elsewhere if it belongs to another team. And the best part? These triage decisions persist across your downstream integrations, so your teams will literally never do redundant work duplicating triage efforts in different systems. Okay, here is the absolute game changer. Traditional scanners throw a warning over the fence and essentially say, good luck, figure it out. Claude Security actually drafts a codebase-aware patch and opens a pull request for you. By clicking Create Fix, it hands the entire context directly over to Claude Code on the web. It opens up a session preloaded with the file, the impact, and the repro steps, and then it drafts a patch that perfectly matches your existing coding patterns. It's wild.
Just to objectively summarize the shift we're looking at here, detection moves away from legacy pattern matching to advanced semantic reasoning. Cross-file flaws, which were previously mostly missed by legacy tools, are now a core strength. And your setup goes from complex CI and SARIF configurations straight to a frictionless zero-install browser experience. It is a fundamental upgrade to the entire workflow.
For your day-to-day operations, Claude offers some really robust automation. You can easily set up daily or weekly schedules, and it's smart enough to actually skip idle branches to save you resources. Webhooks instantly notify Slack or Jira the second a scan completes, delivering the severity rating and a direct link right to your team's channel. Plus, the whole shebang exports cleanly to CSV or Markdown for your auditors.
Now, we absolutely have to look at this tool's limitations to keep things objective. Currently, it's only available for Claude Enterprise, though support for Team and Max tiers is coming soon. Because the output is essentially a literal roadmap to your vulnerabilities, it requires really strict setup of role-based access control. And most importantly, it absolutely demands human oversight. This is definitely not a set-it-and-forget-it autopilot system.
But you know, that limitation is entirely by design. It's rooted in a very strict human-in-the-loop philosophy. Every decision stays with your team. The model never merges anything on its own. Claude Security is a brilliant assistant. It scans, it validates, it triages, and it drafts fixes, but it will never autonomously approve a pull request or block a merge. Developers maintain total, 100% control. AI finds the flaws, but you hold the keys. With the ability to finally eliminate that agonizing noise of false positives and actually understand your codebase's unique logic, are you ready to upgrade your security? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into Claude Security. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next explainer.